Alrighty, gents and gentlets, 2022 was a rough year, but there were some good moments there. As we say goodbye though to 2022, let's make a list of the top 10 movies of the year. Now these movies are all over the place in genres, but I'm grading these movies from worst to best, but even the last place still made it on the list, so I think it's better than anything else that came out in 2022. Now before I tell you my top 10, I want you to tell me what your top 10 are, because I'm going to be looking at them and judging ya. So first on my list, or shall I say last on the list, is 10th place. And last on the list has to go to Disney's Pinocchio. Now I know a lot of people really dislike Pinocchio, even hate him. And some of the complaints, I would have to say I agree with them. Like I too am sick of Disney remaking their classics and ruining them instead of making new originals. But I think Pinocchio is the first live action remake that they did that can actually stand on its own. Not trying to replace the original, but actually standing on its own. Get the reference there. And this is why Pinocchio made it to number 10. Ninth place let us go down memory lane, and it shows how to successfully bring back a classic, but in a new way. That's right, I'm putting Chip 'n Dale Rescue Rangers in 9th place. This movie was well executed, giving us a fun new adventure to go on with characters we already know and love without feeling like we're just watching a rerun that got microwaved in an animation microwave. Now, a movie that you wouldn't typically see on my channel is so powerful that I have to include it here. And the movie that's in 8th place is All's Quiet on the Western Front. This movie is definitely for the more mature audience, however I thought the movie did a great job drawing you into the story, and some of the camera work in that movie was absolutely amazing. It's like they're defying gravity. Now this next one on the list we've actually talked about here. Coming in at number 7 is Minions Rise of Gru. Now I think Steve Carell did an amazing job with his character like he always does, and the Minions always seem to feel original, like it's like the Three Stooges, but like a Three Stooges we never seen from a parallel universe. And the storyline is interesting enough that its rewatchability is delicious. Now the next one in at number 6, I was actually shocked to find that it was so good it made it to the list, and that's Matilda the Musical. Honestly, I didn't even want to watch this movie, but I often watch movies just to watch them, so I'm up to date on what's going on in movie land. And I was actually shocked to find out that many of the songs were well put together. You might say that they were good foot tapping songs. And I think it was a fun rewatchable movie that was good enough for the whole family. Halfway down the list, we have Fall. I started watching the trailer on this and I had to stop halfway through because it had so many spoilers in it, and I just ran to Redbox and rented it. And I felt like I could predict a lot of what was gonna happen next, but the story plot threw me for a loop and I was just like, whoa. And then I had to go back and rewatch it again. So if you're scared of heights, then you need to go watch this because it's gonna be more scary than it. Number 4 on the list I reserved for the king of rock himself, Elvis. Unfortunately, some of the movie was modified to push a couple of agendas, and they really didn't even mention Dean Martin, who was one of Elvis's biggest inspirations. Not this guy. So it wasn't really a documentary, but it was still fun to imagine what life would have been like for Elvis. Now that I think about it, he was, and he is, the king of rock and roll, and still owns Vegas to this day. And they were playing music in the movie that wasn't even his, or even music from someone else that he was inspired by. So let's actually say that Elvis is number 5 and let fall down to number 4. Now flying in at number 3, we have Top Gun Maverick. This was an intense action movie allowing us to relive better times back in the original, but now we're in the new one. And the ending was a tad bit predictable, so I couldn't make this number 1 on the chart. But nonetheless, I could see why a lot of people were reviewing this thing as the movie of all time. But if you go watch real pilots on YouTube and how their face looks when they're doing like 9Gs, it doesn't look anything like the movies, but I guess that doesn't look cool and handsome and hot, so. Now my second favorite movie of 2022, now wait a second, don't judge me for this, this is my list, so there's no way I'm wrong. I'm gonna have to say that it's Disney's Disenchanted. Now I know that sounds crazy, don't hate if you haven't seen it though. But if you did see it, I wanna know if you agree with me. I was actually shocked to find out that it's just as good as the first one, Enchanted. Because typically a sequel lowers the bar in the storytelling and in the quality. But they actually seem to step up to the challenge. And it's a story we can all relate to, because who doesn't have a magic well in their backyard? Now the winner coming in at first place is Glass Onion, A Knives Out Mystery. Now I don't know where this movie should be labeled. Is it like a comedy or a murder mystery? But nonetheless, I thought the movie was great. I really enjoyed going on the little journey with them. And it kind of reminded me of the first time I ever watched the movie Clue. And I love the movie Clue. I even had the board game Clue. And in fact, for a high school project, I made a movie based on the movie Clue. So it was a blast to be able to relive that experience. And when I say relive, I'm not talking about Disney's live action style relived. It felt like a new original movie for me, just with a little bit of Clue flavor added into it. Glass Onion is definitely going to be a movie I'm bringing with me to 2023. So what do you think? Is your top 10 better than mine? Give me something to watch on New Year's Eve and convince me why it should be on my top 10 list because it's on your top 10 list. And chances are I won't be seeing you till next year.
Why did we do that?
So until then, share a smile. They are contagious. Happy New Year, gents and gentlets.